Welcome to the Centre for Legal Innovation's Legal Techy Tuesday series. We are very excited to have Rolf Behrens, Solutions Specialist with Relativity, here with us today. Rolf will be demonstrating Relativity's platform that brings the entire e-discovery process together in one single solution. Again, welcome. Fabulous to have you here. And now over to Rolf.
Thank you, Christine. Hi, and welcome to Legal Techy Tuesday. My name is Rolf Behrens. I'm a solutions specialist at Relativity, and I've been at Relativity for about 1.5 years. Relativity 1 is a simply powerful platform for all your legal and compliance needs. At Relativity, we help our customers organize their data, discover the truth, and act on it. Now, what does that mean? That's our mission. We want to help all our customers get to the source of the truth, and we do it every day. With data volumes rising and information sources being scattered all over the place, we need to make this an easy process for you to handle. So our customers need a tool that is able to handle whatever is thrown their way. With this platform, we're using simply powerful technology to deliver that. In today's webinar, I'm going to discuss a real-life event that happened at Relativity with a fictional case, and with cases that you may come across where you're handed with a notice to produce information, communications for a certain event. I'm going to demonstrate this as well. So we had earlier this year an event that Relativity was going to hold to showcase our upcoming release of Aero, and we called that Spotlight Australia. This event was going to be held in Melbourne in March, and Stuart, my manager, and myself were the key organisers of the event. We'd invited all our customers, and arrangements had been made for team members to travel from all over the world to come to Melbourne to meet our clients and again to have a big event. With the outbreak of COVID, the event was changed to a virtual event. Okay, now here's our fictional scenario. We've received a notice to produce the communications that identify when we made that decision to move to a virtual only event. So the processes I'm going to demonstrate here within Relativity are only some of the features within this platform. I'm going to collect the information, the emails between Stuart and myself for the period of February to July this year. We'll then process that communication within Relativity and make it available and ready for review. Once we have it in the platform and available, we can then index it, search it, and analyze and have a look at our data using various tools as well as email threading. And then finally, we will review, code those documents as being responsive, and then create a production set and export and produce those documents. So let's jump into collection. Within Relativity Collect, we can collect from Office 365 directly from the cloud while we are hosted in the cloud. We can collect emails, contacts, calendar items, OneDrive, and more connection points are being created every day, such as SharePoint and chat platforms like Slack and Teams. We're going to make one copy of those files. We don't need to copy it to a hard drive at the client's premises, come back to our office, copy it to a network drive, then process it again and make multiple copies. By collecting within the Azure cloud, we're using the Microsoft network, and speed is optimized. We'll also then have a direct connection and a chain of custody within Relativity that can record this process, what's been collected, filters that have been applied, and the volume and quantity of documents that we've collected. Let's jump into a demonstration here. So this is a Relativity workspace, and we're going to collect the data from Office 365 Azure. Your client will need to set this up and give you access, and when they provide you that application ID and secret, you can collect data from their domain. So we're going to edit this collection that I've already created. We have our details from our client. We'll give our collection set a name, assign it to a matter, and then we'll choose the source or the destination where we want to save that information on our relativity instance. We can also then zip those files up, and we'll be collecting, as I said, from Office 365. We then choose our custodians that we want to collect the data from. And again, myself and Stuart. We're collecting from the Outlook email box with the Office 365 connector. And we'll be putting a filter on the email boxes and only collecting emails that were received between February to July this year. So we'll add these filters. And then we click Next. While this is saving, we'll get an update of the custodians and the data source that we have set up. We'll save that. And we can verify our connection to make sure everything's being set up correctly. And then we can commence the collection process. As you can see, this is all a wizard-driven form, and there isn't that much to learn to run these collections. So once the collection's started, it's submitted to a queue, and the queue will then go through a discovery phase first to sort of work out what it needs to collect and the volume. And that is so that it can provide to you some feedback of how long things will take and the number of items you need to discover or that will be discovered. So here you can see Stuart's items. He's got 534 items to collect. And while Stuart's is collecting, mine is still discovering. And looks like that might already be finished or might be finished. Yep, there we go. 685 items of mine have been retrieved. So when that collection is progressing, once it's finished, those items will move from the running queue to the completed queue. And then you can have an email notification saying that collection is complete. And there you go. So now that the collection is running and will be completed, we'll move to the next stage. We'll collect that, as I've said, we've collected that data. Time is now to process the communications to make them available and ready for review. Using relativity processing, we have one single platform which we collect and process and review in. There's no need to log into multiple platforms. There's no need to learn multiple interfaces. And it's simple to use. It's all web-based driven. No need to install applications either. This being all in one location allows and facilitates the delivery of the documents to the legal team for review as quickly as possible. There's no need to export it out of your on-premise applications that you've done your processing in and then upload those separate files or that subset and then upload them to and import them into your review platform. It's all done within the one platform. Again, let's demonstrate the processing. So here we have a processing set that's configured, and I'm just going to step through that and add an additional data source to it. So we have a processing set. We can see that the job hasn't run, and we go through an inventory discovery and a publishing phase. We'll add a new data source. We locate that data source, which is in that location that we instructed the collection to save those files to. Choose the folder which contains the files. We assign those files to a custodian. These are Stuart's files. We can then also specify, once we publish those documents, where we want those to be saved to. In this case, we can create a folder on the fly. And this can be named anything. Oops, to select the folder. There we go. Here we also have the document level numbering, and we can specify a start number. Okay, and then we save that data source to the processing set. And here we can see those steps that haven't commenced, and then lower down we have those two data sources there. Inventory is an option that we can skip, but for this purpose we'll just go straight and discover the documents. Our processing profile has auto publish set as well, so again we don't need to click publish, it'll just automatically occur once the discovery phase is complete. In a moment, there we go. So we can see there's two jobs queued, the discovery or the discover and the publish, the status of the individual data sources, and they can happen for the discovery phase simultaneously. And then the publish is done sequentially due to the fact that I have chosen deduplication. So one set is published and then the next set is published. Unique documents are published from the subsequent sets. So here we're discovering the documents. We can see the number of files being discovered is increasing. And as soon as one discovery set has finished, as I said, it'll start publishing. So just down here, we can see the status. I'm deduplicating the document ID and generating document IDs. Stuart's has finished discovering. You can see that progressing to 33% and the initialization of the publishing job there. So publishing is for one set already finished, the other set's now running through. You can see the duplicate file count is also now increasing as it's discovering documents to publish that are duplicates. So only a unique file will be published. Okay, there we have 1144 files published, 300 duplicates were not published. Okay, so now that our documents are published, we're ready to search and analyze those documents using various searching functionalities, DT search, as well as email threading. So we can conduct those searches and we'll set up some indexes. We can set up terms that are structured that we can run once, and those results can then be tagged. Those results can also be reported on and provided to your legal team. We can then use that tag result to highlight those hits within the text of the documents that we're reviewing to draw the reviewer's attention and focus it on those words within the documents. And then we can also visualize the data rather than just seeing a list of text. We can graphically display the volumes that are associated to those hits. Once the searching and analytics has been done, we can then review those documents and code the relevant documents to respond to the notice. Within Relativity, it is fully audited, so everybody who touches a document, reviews it, codes it, it's all tracked within the platform. Those decisions that people make about a document being relevant or not relevant can all be recorded within the database. So there's no need to create separate word lists or Excel spreadsheets to say which documents decisions have been recorded, progress, it's all set up within Relativity. And then with email threading, we can get a visualization of those documents and an email chain. And then we'll also have the ability to identify those inclusive emails that contain the preceding content of the document. So you don't need to review every single email within a thread. We can just review the inclusive emails, which is generally the endpoint, but it may be somewhere early within the email chain. So we'll just demonstrate the searching the analysis, and then the reviewing as well. So let's jump in here. So here's our set of documents that have been published. And we can see those two folders that we identified earlier and the list of documents. But we need to build our DT search index so that we can actually search it. So I've set one up here, and we'll need to do an incremental build because we've added more documents to it. And while that's running, we don't need to sit here and watch it. We can set up our structured analytics for email threading as well. Again, these can all be pre-configured. So all you need to do is come here and then actually run the analytics on the new documents that have been added. You'll get a progress bar. And again, you could have email notifications coming out to you to say that the step is completed. Now, search terms, as I mentioned earlier, were a set of terms that we can run automatically across all the documents. We can also identify and add a color to those terms so that it assists with the highlighting hits. And we can see the results here of the documents that were hit with that term. And this is the report that we can save out as PDF and provide to your client. Okay, so once we've created those searches, we can move on to reviewing that set of documents. And because we've run those searches and our communications analysis, we could display our email thread view, and we can have customize a dashboard to show the data visually. So here we have our communications analysis, which shows the number of documents communicated between Stuart and I and anybody else we communicated with, the search term reports result, and a timeline of the email received dates, and then a list of the documents in an email thread. We're searching for documents that are talking about our virtual event cancellation and COVID. So we can use this dashboard as a filtering mechanism to reduce the number of documents we need to look at. But we're going to look at this timeline and look at the three first dates of that communication. And then we can see we've got 29 documents here. We're just going to skim through this list. And here's an email here from Nick Robinson, our COO, talking about the Spotlight event. Let's have a look at this. So instantly here we can see that the keywords have hit and highlighted our document text to see that we've moved to a virtual only event on the 5th of March due to the spread of coronavirus. And here's our email threading, and the black dots represent the inclusive emails that I mentioned earlier. We can do mass coding and select the individual documents that we want to mark. And this can be done on a one-by-one basis or in mass here. And obviously for this demonstration purposes, I'm mass coding these documents, but in real life, you'd probably review each individual document, or at least the endpoint, which is the inclusive emails. We also have the ability to highlight the coding decisions. So the blue we can see quickly have been marked as responsive. Okay. So we've now reviewed our documents and coded those documents as relevant. So now the time is to produce those documents to the other parties, or at least to the regulatory body that has issued the notice to produce. So within Relativity, we can provide documents and produce a production list, which is a defined set list of documents that has been coded. Now, these is essentially locked away within Relativity so that you have that as a permanent record of production. We can then also export those documents and provide them electronically, or you could also produce them as a file and have a list that in Excel. And it can also be then used to load into another electronic review platform for future review, or perhaps even in an electronic courtroom for a discovery case where you're having exchanging parties of documents. And again, as I said, the tracking of that produced document set is retained as a permanent record within Relativity. So this process is relatively simple. So we'll demonstrate it. So first of all, we need to create a saved search of the documents that you want to produce. Now, this can be a dynamic saved search. It could be a static list of documents that never changes. But in this example, I'll do a search on the documents that we coded as being responsive. And I've added a criteria in there to say that it hasn't been produced previously. So here, if I edit this result search, we can see the criteria. The responsive value is responsive and the production hasn't been set. We can also select the fields we want to display as part of that search result. And this could be the fields that you want to produce to the other parties. So once we've got the search with a list of the 5 documents, it could be 5,000, it could be 500,000 documents. We can see this list, the data that I've chosen to display. This list can be exported from here. But in Relativity, we can actually export our data in a couple of different ways. First need to do a production set. So our production set, again, is a job. And again, this is what is locked away. So we'll edit this set and we'll add a data source. And in this instance, we're going to export these files as native files. Now, this could be in PDF, it could be in TIFF images if you're doing redactions within the platform. So once you have that defined and set up, we click Stage and run the production. Again, storing that information. If you had redactions, it would burn in those redactions and so that they couldn't be edited. You don't have any underlying text. And then we would stamp numbers on the documents here as well. Okay. So as I said, this is the production now complete, and we can then export these results. As I said, Relativity can export data in a couple of different ways, but I'll demonstrate integration point, and which is within, again, the web browser. We do have a desktop client as well. So we click on New Integration Point. We provide it a name, Spotlight Production. We choose our type of export. We can import data this way as well. And our destination will be a load file. And this is so that we can provide it to another party. If we have a production profile, which will allow for consistency, we should use that here. This we can have as a set of rules, and it speeds up this production process. We choose the production set that we created earlier. And we can add more fields or choose the same fields that were in that same search, in that save search. We click next. Here we define whether we're just going to export the natives or images. Are we going to extract the text as files? So the extracted text of the documents. Choose the location where the export will be saved. And choose those output settings there. We click Save. And then run that production. We can see in the status bar at the bottom, there's a job status. It's pending at the moment and validating what we're about to export. So in this case here, it's now updated to say that there's a total of 5 items to export. And that process is now completed. Those 5 items have been exported. And we can see that there are 0 errors as well. Okay. Now we've covered our Aero UI and our process to collect our data, process it within Relativity, search and analyze that data, review the data using widgets and dashboards, coded those relevant documents, and exported, and produced and exported those documents.
Thanks, Rolf, for an amazing demonstration. It was really interesting to learn why Relativity has built its platform in the Microsoft Azure cloud environment to seamlessly collect data directly from Office 365, process and prepare the information for review, all in one simply powerful user interface. If anybody that has any questions, Rolf is more than happy for you to contact him after the session via LinkedIn or through the company website. So if there aren't any questions at this stage, we will draw to a close. A huge thank you to all of you who have attended today. As you know, the Centre for Legal Innovation is very much focused on these types of webinars, this type of information sharing, collaboration and experience exchange. We are all about practical solutions. There will be many more webinars coming up in the Legal Techie Tuesday series in 2020, so don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter or Facebook for announcements. We look forward to welcoming you back to one of our events, and thank you again very much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Rolf.